Oh, buddy, I'm coming on here super fired up today. I want to ask you a question if you can relate. So, can you relate to the emotional and financial roller coaster that is entrepreneurship and business? Um, I don't know if people who are employed can relate to this as much because, you might be just getting by, money might be tight. But at the end of the day, there's probably a consistency. The only people I know with consistent incomes are employees. They get the same amount of money week in, week out. If you're with a normal employer and not some small startup or some small business or something that, is like, oh, we can't pay you this week. But like any, standard normal business overall that isn't, again, some small solopreneur, entrepreneur startup, if you're employed by a business that's rocking and rolling, like the probability you get paid on a regular basis is very, very, very high, right? But as an entrepreneur, if you're self-employed, you might reach certain levels that it doesn't go below, but depending on how you've set up your business through life and depending on how you're wired, and I've had like three different conversations today. And first and foremost, I gotta give mad props. I love when people reach out as well. Um, and this is going to tie in because this is for one of the listeners that reached out yesterday. I won't say their name, but had the courage and was so afraid to do that. And yet, what I'm going to be talking about is partly sparked from that because there's this aspect that, you know, I'm one of the like, if you're in business right now and you're struggling to make money and you listen to my stuff on any regular basis and you've yet to say hello to me, I like, and you think I could help you and you're worried about I'm gonna sell you something or whatever. Like, yes, I sell coaching, but you'll find that I tend to give little test drives and little jump starts and little personalized experiences for absolutely nothing. You should take that chance because if you won't take that chance when I say it, then the likelihood you're really afraid for people that definitely you don't even get to hear say things of like, I'm a safe place. Like, I'm not going to shame you and judge you and guilt you and push you and pressure you and all these things. When I say that, you still won't even reach out to me to say hello, say thanks for the content. Hey, man, can I get a little jump start from you? If you won't do that with me, it's probably really, really affecting you in your day-to-day business. And that's what was happening with this conversation because what I find is that when it comes to comparison, when it comes to confidence, when it comes to these things, we're all wired. Hold on a sec. In different ways, and this roller coaster that happens is what I found is there's obtainers and there's maintainers, and sometimes there's people who are kind of hybrids and they're a combination of both. People who tend to be more introverted tend to be maintainers, not obtainers. So if you identify being more of an introvert, you'll probably identify with the fact that some stability and security is a lot more important to you than a person who's the opposite personality, who's more like risk taking, moving and shaking, fast talking. Like I tend to be, I'm not really a maintainer personality type. I've always through my life been much better in the obtaining role, in the moving, the taking action, the doing things, the talking to people, the connecting. And I should have brought it up. Maybe we'll bring it up on a future one. One of my clients sent me a picture. And let me know if you relate to this. I wish I would have brought the picture up, but I don't have it easily available. But it was basically a picture of a little sliver of a calendar. And I'd love to know in the comments or send me a private message if this is you. But essentially, it said from 9 to noon, preparing for call. From noon to 2, call. And from 2 to 5, um, recovery from the call. And this person sent me a thing explaining how like that's them to a T. And they had a project not too long ago, how they knew this big pitch meeting was going to be happening. And so they were like, I can't do anything else on this day. Right. I can't do anything else on this day. I have to I just had to prepare in the morning, be in the headspace, do the meeting, and I'm going to be exhausted. And it's exactly what happened. But there's people the opposite. And honestly, that's a lot of the people you're seeing on the internet sometimes. Like you've got kind of two types of people on the internet sharing things. You got all the introverts that are out there who are building courses and programs and really don't necessarily want to talk to people and don't fit well in the necessarily always in the service-based business or, out moving and shaking and talking to people and connecting with people in those ways and getting on phone calls. Like they need that preparation because without the preparation, they're drained. See, for me, when I ran my video production company, if there was a text message, if the email that came in had a phone number, I'm calling that phone number. I'm not preparing for it. I'm not like researching the people. I'm not like emailing them back and can we schedule a call next week and then thinking about it for 2 weeks. Like I'm not doing any of that. I'm seeing the phone number, picking up the phone. Hey, Susie, you just filled out my form. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's me. Yeah. Well, da da da. Now I'm being a little more aggressive in my talking than I would ever be. I always have to tell people, I'd be like, "Hey, Susie, how's it going?" Yes. You just filled out my form on my website. Yeah, yeah, okay, that was me. I was like, well, do you have a moment? So I speak a little bit more intensely and aggressively here, but so I do that, and a lot of times people would be like, yeah, that's great. And I once ran this poll inside this group, full-time filmmaker actually, and I said, if you get an email that says, um, something about pricing or whatever, do you tend to try to get people on the phone, or do you tend to try to keep it inside of email and do whatever you can if you could to keep it in email? Like, you really don't even want to get on a call ever if you didn't have to, but you definitely are doing your best to kind of stay in email as long as you can, keep those back and forths. And I had all these people fill it out. I think it was like 60% wanted to stay in email, 40% were like they try to get them on a call. And then I went and asked all those people what's their average job and whatnot. The highest paid person for staying email, I think, was 8 grand, with an average of $1,500. So the average person out of all these people, I think there was a couple hundred. The average person didn't make more than $1,500 who chose to not try to get people on the phone. And I think the highest job they got was like 8 grand. The highest paid person who was willing to get on the phone or wanted to get on the phone was, I think, 40,000. It was like $38,000, with the average being $5,000 to $8,000. Now, does that mean that you can't design a business that you have to get on the phone? No, but you have to know how you're wired relative to the people you're learning from. See, when I work with people, I am not at all trying to force or push or pressure people to operate how I operate. If anything, I'm helping them learn how they operate best. And so whether employment or collaboration or connection or delegation or whatever, what is best for you? I have one client who has been unstoppable and unleashed because he's realized he's a systems person, right? He's not, he can add a little bit of the MIA and the imperfect action into his protocols, because too much perfectionism slows things down too much. But this person is now delegating to a team and getting help, and he loves to manage people. So do you love to manage people? Do you see yourself more as the risk taker? You like taking big risks. You don't fear what's going to happen if you're going to lose. You're just like, let's try it. Let's see what happens. Or even more the artist. There's a book here, The E-Myth, that kind of talks about that. The artist, the entrepreneur, the manager. And so there's all these different things. And my goal is to always help people understand who they are. And so what I was telling some of the people today, and what you see in the behavior with the roller coaster, is that the obtainers usually have more work than they know what to do with. And at times they're giving it to the maintainers, right? The people who move and shake and connect and get the jobs and get the leads and get the business and all this stuff, like especially in the video production space that I'm from, those people need the rock solid, stable people. And those people just want to show up and they just want to edit. They just want to shoot. They just want to do that. But they don't really want to have to find all these jobs and all these clients and all these different people. They simply want to just show up and do potentially their artistry. Those same artistry minded people who'd really rather be doing that, who are in entrepreneurship, it's not that it's impossible. It's that how you'll have to go about it will be different than that person, right? Because that person's going to move at 100 miles an hour and you're going to look like you're moving in slow motion, or sometimes not moving at all. And so the problem is, when you look at the Gary V's and all these kind of people, they are all these people online that are really loud about moving really fast. And then they're giving advice that's not helpful to the person who doesn't operate like that, right? And so what I found is that the person who is the less obtainer, more maintainer, and this is what I've gotten confirmation 3 times today, is that they'll do whatever it takes. Like, imagine them being a 4-cylinder vehicle. That's their standard mode of operandus, right? That's their standard mode to operate. Now, unlike a car, isn't going to become a V12. It isn't going to become, a twin turbo supercharge overnight. But us as humans, we have this ability to acclimate and to adapt and to shift. But there still will come back to our default. We'll come back to our natural state. And so if your natural state is a 4-cylinder, depending on how you're wired and your family and your kids, you'll do whatever it takes whenever you have to become an F1 and make things happen. But once you've made things happen, you go back to stabilization. You go back to maintaining, right? And then what happens is depending on how much abundance you created in that F1, Mach speed, don't want my family to lose their house or anything else kind of stage, but then you're absolutely exhausted because that's not how you're wired. Then what happens is that money might be good for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, or maybe you got a client that it looks like it's indefinite. And then what happens is you're safe, you're good. No more obtaining. No, everything you did to get those clients stops because that's not how you like to operate. Now it's just like I can go into maintenance mode and take care of these people and do what I really like to do and do what really energizes me. And then what happens is if for some reason, which is probable, that you lose that client at some point in time and that thing doesn't work out, you haven't done anything in the meantime to have relationships or be obtaining or growing or having other clients or other people you're working with. And so now all of a sudden you go into that cycle where, let's say you had 12 months of money from 4 months worth of work. Well, depending on how long your fuse is and tolerance is, you'll either immediately start kicking into gear, which is highly unlikely, but or you'll wait. So for that first month, you're like, I'm good, man. And you're doing your thing, you're buying some stuff. And then all of a sudden, you're like, I hope some more jobs come in, but you're not too worried. You're still in 4-cylinder mode, right? Then all of a sudden, another month passes, another month passes. Before you know it, nothing else has happened. You haven't done too much because you're still exhausted, probably to a degree of the work that you did, but your brain is also sabotaging you from what happened the prior time that you had to get work. So your brain doesn't really want to do that because every time you go into this F1 mode, it is exhausting to the brain. It doesn't feel good to the body, but you'll do it because the pain of losing your house, the pain of losing your car, the pain of your kids not eating, that is greater than you going into F1 mode. But F1 mode still doesn't hurt. So you'll put off F1 mode as much as you can until you feel like you can no longer wait. Then you kick in F1 mode. This is the roller coaster. And so then this is the cycle that people are on. Now, what I told one of the people today, as I said, here, we can work on the inner game. Because one thing's going to happen, because this hadn't been happening for 3 weeks, 3 months. It has appeared that it's been happening for years. And this is not the first time I've seen this either. And I've seen versions in my own life. So the things that happen in my own life that I've kind of figured out and found the patterns, I can more spot it in others. But if something's been happening for years, you can probably guarantee that won't change. So it may suck, and emotionally, like psychologically, it's very draining and scary and you're anxious and all those kind of things. We can work on that. I feel like I've mastered that in the last few years. I can get you to where the emotional roller coaster part isn't there. That just takes doing the inner work. I can get you there. And then you can just accept that this is how it'll be the rest of your life. And you know that the right money at the right time is going to come in because it's already proven to you freaking for 10, 12 years, 3 years, 5 years. You keep, having this thing, you do all this stuff, you get all the work, then the work run dries up, then you're scared. Then you do a whole bunch of things, you get the bunch of work and you go through this roller coaster, constant roller coaster. And you do this over and over again. And it seems like the right jobs, the right time, and the right whatever, it always comes in, right? You can accept that that's probably going to be your reality for the rest of your life. And you can learn to not have that bother you. I absolutely believe that. Now, usually when you change your inner game, your outer game changes, but doesn't mean it will. But if you start to look at how you're wired and what's going on in the patterns, we can find a way to craft the business that allows you to set it up in such a way where not only do we work on the emotional side, so regardless of the outside world, because what we don't want constantly, and this is what I've had to work on with myself, with my wife, is that we're not allowing the government, the outside world, everything outside of us to constantly change our inner game, right? It doesn't mean we're perfect. Believe me, we're not. But I can tell you the things I've seen in my wife and then what I've experienced in my own life, like we're pretty doggone solid. There's people I know who have 100 times more money than me and are 100 times more stressed out than me and my wife. I mean, and my wife has come a long way because I could be like, honey, we've got a year's worth of money. And she'd be like, don't tell me that. Oh my God. Right. And so God love her. I mean, we could have no money now. And she'd be like, okay, well, it'll come. And so she's amazing. I'm so proud of her, but it's shown me that anybody can make these internal shifts. But then what you do in the external world has a lot to do with figuring out how you're wired and where you best fit. If you're an 18-wheeler, then you're not going to drive on a Formula One track, right? Or at least operate how a Formula One vehicle operates, right? Or a NASCAR. But the 18-wheeler can do things that Formula One can't. But if you keep obsessing to the degree that you're not Formula One, you're just going to be upset your whole life. It's like the fish judging itself by the ability to climb a tree, right? We've got to find who we are and how we're wired and what energizes us, what activates us, what drives us, what helps us maintain, and just accept that, you're not a 7'8" person. Like there's things that we can't very easily adapt or change. So we have to accept this is who I am. And then there's the things we can change, we can tweak, we can control, we can adjust. And we got to focus on what we can do, not what we can't. I can't control the weather. I can't control other people. I can't control the government. I can't control if I upload 500 videos or one video, whether one's going to blow up and everybody will know me or not. Like none of these things are within our control. What is in our control is you can choose to make videos. You can choose to make phone calls. You can choose to send emails. You can choose to find a collaborator, a partner. You can choose to ask for help. You can choose to do a lot of things. And then what happens once you choose to do those things? Those are the things at times outside of your control. And so what I want to encourage people is to figure out how you're wired and find a way to recognize, oh, okay, this is the pattern. Now, on autopilot, I'm going to repeat this pattern. I'm going to become F1. I'm going to get the stuff. I'm going to feel comfortable, and I'm not going to do anything that got the work anymore until I need to get the work. And then the work's going to dry up at some point in time in the future. Then I'm going to be comfortable, not comfortable, not comfortable, not comfortable. Oh my God, make it happen. And then I make it happen. And I'm going to go through this cycle. And I'm going to go through the cycle over and over and over again, unless I choose to recognize the cycle and then start to make adjustments, right? Start to, as I would say, fix the leak. What's the leak? I can put a bucket down and dump the water out, but dump the water out doesn't fix the leak, right? But it can potentially not cause a great problem in my basement. If there's a drop, it's not getting all over the place, it's not making a mess. But that doesn't mean that when I dump the water out, that's not going to stop dripping. No, that's only solving the problem of if I wait till it overflows, now I ruin the whole basement, right? And so we've got to fix the leak and figure out what the problem is so that we don't repeat the same thing over and over again, because our brain and our body and our mind just wants to continue to run on autopilot. That's what feels good. I mean, change is tough for people. That's why a lot of people, what I've found, we go to the seminars, we read the books, we read the courses, we watch the videos, we listen to things like this, and things don't always change. It's because change is automatically happening every day. But a lot of us, when it comes to us living a life or having a business or having a body that we want versus what we don't want, that doesn't happen automatically. I mean, I wish showers, I wish I had an auto cleaning system so I didn't have to take showers every day. I mean, I have some great ideas in the shower, but at the end of the day, sometimes I'm like, God dang, I wish I could just auto clean and stay clean, right? Sometimes, I love having dreams, but sometimes I'm like, I got so many things I want to do. I wish I didn't have to sleep. Now I still try to get 6 to 7 hours, but there's certain things I have to do. And when it comes to the mind, it's everything that I've studied, all the therapists, all the psychologists, all the seminar people, all the books, all the trainings, all the things. It's like the brain wants to keep you safe. Even though the scenario of the roller coaster does not sound good, it isn't a great situation to be in. The brain can predict that. You start doing these other things and doing these different things, even though it may ultimately be better for you, right? Like scrolling on social media every day might not be good for our mental health or our weight, but it actually overall creates a safety for the brain. It does things for the brain that make it feel good. And when you go off and do things that are unknown and uncertain and unpredictable, the brain doesn't feel safe. Or when you've gone and tried some of these things and unsafe things happen, then your brain says, don't do that again. And this is where it leads to all this procrastination, overthinking, overanalyzing. What is that doing? Overthinking, overanalyzing, procrastinating more times than not is to keep the brain safe, to keep you safe, right? Because if you analyze something, what are you trying to do? If I don't analyze and something bad happens, then it says maybe you should slow down, friendo, and analyze it so that bad thing doesn't happen. The problem is you can't really prevent automatically bad things from happening just because you sit and think about it all day, right? But I've got people who have the one meeting in a day. That's their natural state. So they're going to have to realize if they're following, I have friends that they're knowing of that operate where they're going to do 20 meetings in a day and they're energized by that, right? I could talk on here all day long. Now, whether or not that makes me any money is a whole different can of worms, but could I get on here and talk from 8 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon and at the end of the day, hang out with my wife, watch some shows, eat some dinner, get a good night's sleep and come back and do it again? I could, if there was zero worry of money. Now, I wouldn't want to do that because I do want to spice of life. I like some variety. but I could definitely do it. I can tell you what I can't do: administrative stuff, details, typing things out. Like there's certain things where it's like I'm capable and I'm competent, but they are deactivators. When I do them, they drain me, right? So if you're building a business where the majority of things you got in your way deactivate and drain, that's a problem because there's somebody else right now doing the same activities and they're energized by it. So when you do the one meeting in a day, they're doing 20. And when you're comparing yourself to their results to your results, you're going to be disappointed and discouraged all the time because they're going to move 20 times faster than you. And it compounds because if you only can handle 3 meetings a week and they can handle 20 meetings a day and they do 100 meetings in a week, like you can see how that they're getting pretty far ahead pretty quick, right? And so it's recognizing then if you're trying to play the same game and you're not wondering why you're not getting the same results, well, that's the problem. You can't look at it. It's not the same. It's not apples to apples. And there's too many people. We don't know how they're wired. We don't know how their situation is. We don't know. Do they have a husband or wife that's helping them? We don't know these things. And every one of these little nuances makes a difference. Every little thing you've had happen in your life that's worked or not worked makes a difference in your life and where you're at. And so to the degree that you're having these roller coasters, you're having this emotional kind of, overthinking, overanalyzing, there's something going on. And until we start becoming aware and addressing those things and then practicing ways of viewing them differently, I have to tell my brain every day now, MIA is safe. MIA is safe. What's MIA for those who are new? Imperfect action, massive imperfect action. I had a lot of success taking MIA in my life, but it caused a lot of pain. Then I took that from the early 2000s to 2021, like nonstop, always taking action. I wasn't afraid of let's do that. It didn't mean I never had any fear, nothing ever happened. But if I had to I sat in the 90 percentile of taking MIA and not overthinking. In the last couple of years, I had sit in the 90 percentile of overthinking and then doing some MIA. And my financial results were completely the opposite. But the negatives from the MIA became positive in MOA. So now it's the integration of the two, but my brain was truly believing, even though intellectually I knew different. I want you to get that. I say my brain versus intellectually. Well, what's that mean? Your subconscious, right? Things you're not controlling, the autopilot that's running, the ability for me to talk, the ability for move my hands, the ability for me to walk. That's all unconscious. That's all happening on autopilot. I don't have to think about every word I say. I don't have to figure out how to walk. If any of you have ever had a brain injury or had something, or you know somebody that got hurt, they may have relearned to walk at 30 something years old, right? And that's tough. But there's so many things we know how to do because we do it on autopilot. And a lot of us are living lives on autopilot. And so when I say my brain, it's like, yes, consciously, I can speak the words. You don't have to be rich and miserable or happy and broke. I can intellectually know that. I can consciously speak that. But there's a me conflict between people who also say, I want to make a bunch of money. I'd love to have more money. And then everything about money outside of having more of it, they associate with bad. People with money suck. People with money are greedy. Man, those people with money, look at those people with money. Oh, well, it's one of those people. And we say all these things and are like, money's hard, money's tough. Ah, man, I wish money didn't have to exist. That's like me saying, I wish my wife didn't have to exist, right? I love my wife and want to see my wife every day. I would never say, I wish I could only see my wife every once in a while. I really wish I didn't need to see my wife. Now, God willing, Jayanne, that's my assistant. If you hear me saying something, don't make a snippet that makes me look stupid. Talk about my wife. Or somebody will do it themselves. Anyways, honey, if you can hear me, you know I love you. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the comparison. That's what's happening with money. So there's people who want more money while simultaneously they hate money. How am I supposed to have a great relationship with my wife or my business or friends or people if I say I hate them and I don't want them and I don't like them and I wish they didn't have to exist? It doesn't work quite well, does it? So when you start to go that, there's this conflict at times between what you say you want and what your brain believes about that. So until I retrain my brain, see, my brain didn't have any of that in the past. It was just action, action, action. Life is good. Take action. Jump off cliffs. Build my wings on the way down, metaphorically with an asterisk, right? But like all that kind of stuff. And then over time, I jump and I slam into the ground. I jump and I slam into the ground. And then finally, after 18 years of doing that, I finally got tired of jumping out of the plane, building my wings on the way down. Now I'm like, I'm going to get a professional wing builder. Let me step back and test these wings before I jump. And Although there's good things that come from that, because I'm not literally jumping out and doing those things, the truth of the matter is, for me, it didn't serve me because that's not my natural tendency to sit and analyze the bejesus out of everything. So what you have to do is I have to tell my brain it's safe to act, it's safe to do, it's safe to do MIA. I have to say, hey, you know what, brain? The reality is back in the day, there were good things of MIA and there were bad things, but the bad things don't have to happen again, right? Now, this is how I talk to my brain. So anybody's curious, I'm talking out loud on camera so you can learn how I talk to my brain, right? So my brain, I finally consciously figured out, oh my God, a lot of this procrastination is happening because the only thing that I want to do more of is I want to take some more action that can make some more money and impact some more people. And I keep procrastinating on that. So what's going on? All the things that have happened in my life that had me go, action is bad. You have a life you love right now. But if you start taking a lot of MIA, you're going to have a life you don't love anymore. And I knew that to be wrong, but if my brain truly believes that to be true, because it goes, no, MIA, you did all this stuff and you got overwhelmed, you got overworked, you got stressed out, and this happened, right? If you ask that girl on a date, if you do this thing and something bad happened, that's a stove moment that says your brain to not do that thing again. And the way you do these things again is you tell your brain, it's okay, it's safe. I'm not going to get hurt. That's not going to happen. I'm different. This is a different person. Right. And you have to constantly navigate with what's happening consciously and unconsciously so you can merge the two worlds together and it can allow you to move forward and make progress and have things happen. Man, fired up today, guys. I just tell you what, feels good to be like this. This is what flowing looks like, right? This is what having fun, being fulfilled looks like, right? And I love sharing these concepts and sharing these things because the audios I've received, that people reaching out, you guys reaching out and saying, thank you for this. I just got an awesome message yesterday and it means the world because I know that there's numbers that I see every day on all the platforms where these videos go out. And at times my brain can go, is anybody listening? Is anybody hearing? Right? Now I tell my brain there are people listening. There are people hearing. There are people this it's helping. Right? And then when I get people who tend to be more passive and more afraid to potentially say hello for all the various reasons, the sales guys sold them something, they did this, they don't have the money for it, they don't want to feel the shame of like, I can't afford right now, like whatever it is, to have that courage to say hello, your stuff makes a difference. It makes an impact. It helps me keep going because I'm a person who loves connection. I don't really I do this to make a difference. I don't just do it for my own health or I go do other things. So these are for you as much as they're for me. And so when you say hello, when you hit the like button, when you leave a comment, it does mean something. And I love to get those because those fire me up to show back up here again and show back up here again and show back up here again. Yeah, that's good for now. I got to go. Got to take our puppies, get them a haircut. So, yeah, I appreciate you. And, I appreciate the one that just reached out yesterday. You'll know who you are if you happen to listen to this one, but super grateful. And I'm super proud of you. And I'm super proud of the next person, if that's you, who's going to reach out and say hello and come into the Mind Mechanics garage, get you tuned up, get you, tune up hearts and minds one at a time. So dreams don't die and hearts, heads are hard drives, so I love the work that I get to do and who I get to do it with. And so I put this out for those who, say they can't afford and whatnot. But, again, prices sit between $500 a month and $100 a month, and you can do a month to month. And so you don't have to worry. I'm not going to sell you a $5,000 thing. There's no Zoom calls. It's basically, if you know how to text message, that's how I coach. And so send me a message, on Messenger, on Facebook. You can go to themindmechanic.net and there's a contact form there that's got essentially, it's got my Facebook, it's got my Voxer. So there's multiple ways you can message me. Just send me a message. I don't like email. So definitely send me a messenger, send me a Voxer. I think I'm going to get a little phone number thing on here soon too. So whatever's the path of least resistance for you to send me a message and interact and say hello. Right now, the easiest is a Facebook Messenger message or interact with me on Voxer. But whatever's easiest for you, just definitely fire me a message. I'll give you a test drive, a little experience of what a personal kind of private interaction and jumpstart would look like. And then we'll take it from there. Whenever you're ready, you're ready. I'm not going anywhere. I love this work. So I just want to continue to help people in the way I can in a generalized manner. And then from there, for those you want to go deeper and you're ready, I'm here. send me a message, say hello. I'd love to hear from you. It really brightens my day when I get to hear somebody that's a listener saying how much it's made an impact and how helpful it is. So definitely like, subscribe, leave a comment, say hello, reach out, and keep rocking and rolling. And if you've got questions or thoughts that you'd like to see discussed or you'd like to see me go on a rant on, fire it away. So I appreciate you, my friends. Have a great day, and I will talk soon. Bye-bye.